It's Monday, February 17th, 2014, and let's talk about what happened this weekend over at XDADevelopers.com. First up, if you're an owner of the 2013 Nexus 7, specifically the LTE version, be on the lookout. You may or may not have already received it. There should be an update rolling out to it. It is specifically version KVT49L, and taking a look at the actual change logs found over at funkyandroid.com, doesn't look like an awful lot has changed. There's a newer, slightly updated build of the kernel, which probably coincides with the fact that it supposedly will work, at least work a little bit, probably work wholeheartedly, on the Verizon 4G LTE network now. Now, that's not to say that it didn't work there before, because I've heard of a lot of people getting it to work on their network, but now it is supposed to be officially supported. And other than that relatively minor kernel bump, there were a few minor changes in things like the keyboard, and maybe some changes to the calendar app, but other than that, it's not a big, huge, major update or anything. Moving right along, one company that I don't get to talk about very much here on XDA is Huawei, and so when I saw a story pop up about them, definitely wanted to read a little bit more about it and thought I'd share it with you guys. And Huawei got mentioned on the portal this weekend thanks to a thread created by XDA member Xman9491 talking about an unofficial beta build of Android 4.4.2 for the Huawei Ascend P6. Now, the news of this came from another site called HuaweiNews.com, and they are saying that this is an official beta. The story on the XDA portal kind of goes back and forth as to whether it is or not. But until Huawei comes out and says, this is from us, this is for your device, this is official, I would still consider it to be unofficial, and because it is still sort of labeled a beta, you might consider it to not be 100% stable. In reading through the forum thread just a little bit, it does seem like there may be some bugginess to it. There was one person that mentioned that their device, after doing the update, it only showed that it had 500 megabytes of available space. Someone suggested they do a factory reset after that point, so that might take care of it. I don't have the device, so I can't honestly test it myself. So if you do have the Huawei Ascend P6, be on the lookout. There may be an official update coming, and if you're interested, you're here, you're probably going to be interested in this. You might go ahead and take a look at the forum thread for more details and maybe flash this onto your device if you have one. Moving right along, some very interesting news came out of HTC this weekend when they hosted an AMA over on Reddit. This was where HTC's product team got together. They answered whatever questions were thrown their way for the most part, talking about some things like future product support, whereas right now they haven't been 100% amazing on keeping their devices up to date. I think they talked a little bit about the HTC One X and One X Plus and why they stopped updating it all of a sudden. They talked about how they have a goal of supporting their devices for at least 2 years moving forward, although I believe that's just for the flagship devices. They talked a little bit about removable batteries and customizable cases and things like that, trying to sort of gauge what the consumers want and cater to what the consumers are actually looking for as opposed to just doing what's buzzworthy. And having read through quite a bit of the AMA, it's definitely an interesting read. You should head on over to Reddit and take a look at it. The links to this will be found down in the video description. You can get to the portal post, which links over to Reddit. Realistically, just seeing a company that does want to be very responsive to the consumer need. They talked a little bit about how the Google Play Edition very much sprung up from customer responses, people saying they wanted a stock flat Android experience without Sense on top of it. And so now they're going, in bi-directions, with one way being flat Android and one way being Sense, which they of course will prefer and suggest. But it is definitely consumer responsiveness. So if you want to just sort of see their side of the story, you can, like I said, head on over to Reddit and get all the details there. And moving right along, one other thing I always do love to talk about when I see stories about it is the ChromeCast. So XDA senior member Dakdroid has put together an application called LocalCast, which does, as it says on the tin, casts local content to your ChromeCast. From reading through a little bit of the forum thread, it seems like he's taken the sample app that Google put together and done some minor tweaks and modifications to it in order to allow you to take whatever sort of content you've got on your device, as long as it falls within the realm of whatever the ChromeCast is capable of decoding, and push it from the device to the ChromeCast. The app itself is only about 2.1 megabytes, so it's not going to be a huge download. It is available through the Play Store, and it is ad supported, so I think there might be an APK in the forum thread. Do make sure to go check on that before you go and look for it in the Play Store. But if that sounds like it's something that's interesting to you, there are a bunch of different file formats that are supported, and from reading through some of the responses and some of the reviews over on Google, it seems like the app itself is doing a pretty good job. Definitely head on over to the forum thread to get all the details though. And the last thing that I wanted to go ahead and and talk about Google is at it again. They've bought yet another company. In this case, they bought a company called Slick Login, and this is something I'd never heard of, but apparently what Slick Login does is they're working on a solution to allow you to log into a device, log into a service or whatever, using ultrasonic sounds being emitted from your computer. At first glance, when I read this story, I thought it was talking about sounds emitted from the person, but no, it sounds more like it's actually going to take sounds coming out of your PC that are unique based upon the PC that you're running it on in order to use that to authenticate in sort of a two-factor authentication into a device. Now, if you put that on top of something like the face recognition that Google already has, or PIN, or whatever other authentication that you have on your device, definitely very nice to have some sort of stronger two-level authentication on the device. So it should be very interesting to see where Google goes with this, if it's something maybe they'll integrate into Android. For those of you who do desire a little bit more authentication type security on your device, this could be a good way to go moving forward, where you have to have your device within a certain range of your PC or your laptop in order to be able to unlock it. Although at the same time, having to be within so many feet of my computer to hear a sound coming from the computer to unlock it could be a bit of a bummer at the same time. So it will just be interesting to see where it goes, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it as well. Like I said, if you weren't necessarily limited to being within a certain radius of your computer to be able to hear that sound, it's not going to be so bad. But if you have to have that sound unlock your device, that can be kind of scary and not terribly useful, because my PC is not at work. And if I had to have the same software running on every machine, the security factor of it definitely drops. But anyway, that's going to be about all from me for today. It was a bit of a slow weekend. As always, remember you can find the links to all the stories I talked about down in the video description below. You can also find the links to my YouTube channels down there as well. Remember to hit that like button down below if you like this video. Subscribe to receive our content as soon as it becomes available. Thank you so much for watching though, and I will see you again next time.